Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Who remember this guy from those Christmas movies from back in the day? Woo! I found this Christmas sweater for $22 at Macy's. Just found him chilling on the rack. Super cool, super fun. So, in this video, I just want to bring the same type of festive energy in the video. But anyway, the main goal of this series, which is great commanders for beginners, is to shine light on commanders that I think are great for beginners or even for older players that might just want to start over in a way. You know, Magic is a very in depth game that it branches off into so many directions that it is ridiculous. It's addicting and just keeps recreating this desire to play. From that first game to the 50th game, somehow you can get looped back into this in depth game that just never ceases to surprise me or yourself. But let's get right into this series. Let me explain the commander scorecard. Let's go. So let's start with the scorecard here. Above me is what the fun score is, right? And then they're going to go to the middle section, mainly in a red box, is the fun score, where I say how fun this commander is. Obviously, we have Black Panther Wakandan King. He gets a fun score of 10 because if you never played with Selesnya colors, this guy will do everything that you desire, and it is very in depth because it has the ability of animating lands, which is a lot more than I expected when they was first spoiled. Anyway, on the right hand side at the top is the one word or words that I feel like describe the card. So, how fun are these new commanders? I think Black Panther is rewarding. Then below that are things that it does. Uh, Everything that's in green are its pros. Everything that's in yellow will be its 50-50. Like it's good, it's bad, it might be difficult, it works. It's just in that yellow. It's just like a traffic light. And anything in red, just expect that's not its strength. Like it's possible, but it's just not its strength. It won't be as efficient as you probably would like to desire. But first off, let's get right into our first commander. Let's go. Thank you for hanging on tight to watching this video. So we have Kodama of the West Tree for 3 mana, green and 2, legendary creature, spirit on a 3/3 body. It does have reach. It says modify creatures you control have trample. Equipment, auras you control, and counters are modifications. Then it says whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Okay, I give this commander, if you utilize it as the commander, a fun score of 6. The reason why this commander to me is very better in the 99. It's just better in the 99. It's better as a card somewhere in another commander. And the reason why it gets a 6 because it's a pricey utility. Like, it's awesome to have a card that you pay for that's 20 plus dollars and it does something that's super efficient. But really, you're like, damn, 20 plus dollars for this one card when you could have invested it in a box and gotten a whole bunch of cards, but you may not have gotten that card. I know. The buyer's dilemma. I suffer from it all the time. Like I want another roaming throne. I'm just like, I don't want to pay $20 for it. I'd rather get a whole new box of Lost Caverns of Ixalan and possibly get one. But I haven't done either yet. Anyway, back to Kudama the West Tree. On the green side, we got +1/+1 counters. If you like moving +1/+1 counters, this guy is it for you because all those +1/+1 counters that you put on creatures you control, or maybe even lands that turn into creatures, guess what? That is a modification, and now they have trample. This is an extremely low CMC rate. Okay, very efficient. For 3 mana, it gives pretty much all your creatures trample if they have some kind of modification on them. And let me tell you, it is easy putting +1/+1 counters on creatures. It's not that hard. Like one creature that comes to mind is Shalai Halar, right? Uh, it is I think it's like an elf flying scout, something like that, and it does damage for how many counters are put on creatures. Cool, right? If you have that in your deck, all of a sudden your creatures have trample. The other good thing is it's multi-utility, right? So what I mean by this, you're able to drop lands into play, right? But it's not just one land. It could be as many creatures you have that are modified. That is a very explosive turn if you were to attack with 5 creatures that have +1/+1 counters and you deal combat damage to a player. That's 5 lands coming into play. Why is that extremely amazing? It's because that's mana ramp in general, right? But when you drop 5 mana on one turn, whether it's turn 6, that's essentially saying you're on turn 11 in a way with your mana pool. You're already outpacing your competition. And the more mana you play, or the more mana you have in your mana pool, the more spells you can play at one time on one turn. That makes your deck even more powerful. Next up is red. It's expensive. I think the last time I saw it, it was like $40. I was like, gross. I don't want to pay $40 for a card. I enjoy the game way too much. Listen, if you're new to this channel, you're going to get to know me. I love this game of Magic. Out of my pod, I play the most commons and uncommons and try to get them to have some kind of synergy. Right? I don't always play to win. I play to have fun, but I'm competitive at the same time. So I'm always looking for synergy. I just refuse to always break the bank on cards because like that's expensive. That's expensive. And trust me, I've gone to my OGS and there's guys that have all these cards. They have multiple copies of this. Cool. That's just not me. But I feel like my experience playing these low end commons and uncommons with commanders has just helped me learn even more mechanics, even more strengths and weaknesses of cards. So I am super excited to bring that experience to you and even more information as I make these videos. So we're going to start over here on the left hand side. I'm really just showing you cards that work well with Kodama of the West Tree. Evolution Sage, 3 mana elf druid. It's a 3/2 body. It has landfall. Whenever you put a land into play, proliferate. So why this card is good? Proliferate allows you to add another counter of something onto a creature, permanent, or player. Being able to drop land and proliferate is very efficient. Personally, I do like this card a lot. It's not my favorite. I feel like it could be better, but in a deck where you're able to drop multiple lands on one turn, this goes crazy. So yes, Kodama the West Tree and Evolution Sage and a bunch of creatures that are modified can make your proliferation ability explosive. Next up in the middle, we have Roaring Earth for 2 mana. It is an enchantment. I think this is a very good card that a lot of new players don't even know existed. It came out in the Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Super cool set. It says whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. Cool. So, that's like another landfall trigger, right? But this channel ability is what I want to highlight for this card. And as you search for more cards and you see this channel ability, consider adding it to your deck. Let me explain why. Channel is an ability on a card that can't be countered unless the spell says counter target ability. There are not many spells or permanents that do that. And if they are, most likely they are in blue. Or there's a effect that says end the turn. Moving on to the channel ability for Roaring Earth. So you tap X and tap 2 green, discard Roaring Earth, put an X +1/+1 counters on target land you control. It becomes a 0/0 green spirit creature with haste. It's still a land. Why this card is good? Because you can use the channel ability at any time. On another player's turn, after a board wipe, or when you need a blocker and you have a bunch of mana open, or you have a sufficient amount of mana open, or you need some kind of creature entering the battlefield effect. Okay. And what else makes this channel ability powerful? You're making a very tall land creature. So, if you make a 7/7 out of nowhere, how can you do that? That would be 2 green and 7 mana, so a total 9 mana. You possibly can do that in a green deck that has a bunch of ramp spells. So, yes, you can create blockers that are 9/9s or 1/1. And what's most powerful about this ability, this channel ability, you're creating a creature with haste. Haste creatures can end games because there's going to be turns where there's an opportunity to attack and a player has low life total. And if you can swing in for damage to knock them down to 0 or 1, you should try it. Next up, we have Magus Lucius Kane, Teamer Commander. I'm actually going to brew this deck later on. For one green, red, and a blue, Human Tyrannid Wizard on a 1/1 body has a Spiritual Leader ability. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Okay, cool. Why this is good? At the beginning of combat on your turn, a creature gets a +1/+1 counter. That is modification. Kodama the West Tree works well with this commander because whatever creature you put this +1/+1 counter will get trampled. Easy as that. Okay, Psychic Stimulus is this next ability on Magus Lucia Kane. Tap it, add 2 colors. When you next cast a spell with X in its mana cost, or activate an ability with X in its activation cost this turn, copy that spell or ability. You may choose new targets for this copy. A copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. So remember, I'm recommending Kodama of the West Tree to go into the 99 of Magus Lucia Kane. So that means Magus Lucia Kane will be your commander. So when you use her Psychic Stimulus ability, most likely you're playing big X spells. But if you have a creature focus with it, the most likely creature that you'll have that has X in it are going to be Hydras. They're green creatures that X X is in their mana cost, and they can get really big. They go tall, like they become 10/10s. And essentially Kodama of the West Tree makes them automatically have trample. Some Hydras don't have trample. Okay, that's good if you have it prepared for Kodama the West Tree. What do I need to say about Magus Lucia Kane? I think this is going to be a very fun commander. The reason why I think it encourages players to discover X spells in the color schemes of blue, red, and green. And if you're a first time brewer or just now building your first deck, X spells are very powerful. They're very powerful. They win games. Those are usually your bombs in your decks. So this commander encourages you to play a lot of bombs to destroy your opponents and end games. Now, I will tell you from experience, it can be discouraging having a bunch of bomb/game enders and your opponents have counter spells. Expect counter spells. Also, the next step on expecting counter spells is to bait counter spells. What do I mean by baiting counter spells? Play other cards that make your opponents consider casting a counter spell to cast it before you drop your big bomb on this X spell. But it will be obvious with Magus Lucia Kane because you can use her ability. But the other good thing about Magus Lucia Kane is her ability is it copies upon cast whatever that X spell is. So essentially, your opponent can only counter one spell, and that's usually the spell that's on cast. So you got one copy and the original copy of whatever your X spell is, if you use Psychic Stimulus, and your opponent can only counter the one of them if it says counter target spell, and that's the one that's on cast. So Magus Lucia Kane overall great commander, highly recommended if you are going to have Hydras in the deck that are X spells and you need a way to give them trample off of modification. And Kodama of the West Tree is that commander that needs to be in that legendary creature that needs to be in a Magus Lucia Kane. All right, I'm super excited to bring this commander to you. This is Fumulus the Infestation. For 4 mana, 3 and a black, 2/2 body, vampire insect, legendary creature, flying death touch. And you know what? As you discover new commanders, fall in love with all this text that's on a commander. Fall in love with it. You know why? Because it says it does a lot. And what's beautiful about when you see all this text on a creature is it does what it says, but it does more in the realm of gameplay. Like, as you explore new commanders, learn new commanders, you see what you'll discover what the card designers want you to do with this card. So this is one of those cards, Fumulus the Infestation. I'm going to read it to you, the rest of the abilities. But until you start playing with it, you'll be like, oh, this is what the design of this card really does. And like you gotta learn the different phases and the flow of the commander. Like tap into your commander. Like that's what is amazing about Magic. There's so many good players in Magic and deck builders that once you start exploring the commander, it does more than what it just says. That's the thing. When you start learning the rules, you'll read the card and it does this and that versus what it exactly says. Anyway, I give this Fumulus the Infestation. Oh, hold on. Let me read the rest of the abilities. Whenever a player sacrifices a non-token creature, create a 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. Then, whenever an insect, leech, slug, or worm you control attacks, defending player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Okay, so I give this creature a fun score of 8. 8. Why? Because the 2 words that I describe it is auto payoffs. There's nothing better when you have a commander and it just pays off. Like it does something automatically and you just see the reward. It pays off. First of all, in the green, it goes wide, right? How does it go wide? Whenever a player sacrifices a non-token creature. Player sacrifices non-token creatures all the time. They sack it to altars to give themselves mana, to draw cards, to like as an additional cost to do something else. They do that. And guess what? You get a payoff for any player doing that. That includes you. And you get a 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. So imagine you're creating gnats. You know how annoying gnats are? So the more often players are sacrificing non-token creatures, which they do often, you create gnats. And these 1/1 blockers can block flyers. So those dragons can get bothered by a gnat. Okay, so the other green thing is it's unique tribal. Never before have we seen a vampire insect. But, insects are a new, I would definitely say 2023 to now, as a uptrending, uprising creature type. Next up is protection spells. I believe black does not have a good amount of protection spells. So you will definitely lose this commander if you do not own a Swift Boots or Lightning Greaves. So if you want this monstrosity of a vampire insect to stay on the battlefield, make sure you have those artifact spells in your deck. All right, next up is red. Low toughness. 2/2. 2/2. A 2/2 body is nothing out here. That's very weak. That's very weak. That's weaker than a lightning bolt. Weaker than a lightning bolt. Hell, a meteorite from Roxanne, which is one of my favorite new commanders, Roxanne Starfall Savant, uh, does 2 damage. What? Losing a 2/2 is weak. That's his only. I feel like this is his only con. Otherwise, I'm about to show you some more cards that work very well with Fumulus the Infestation. All right, I'm gonna start over here on the left hand side. Blasphemous Edict for 5 mana, 2 black and 3 sorcery. You may pay 1 black mana rather than pay the spell's mana cost. If there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield, each player sacrifices 13 creatures of their choice. This card is great because this is essentially a board wipe that you can pay 1 black mana if there's 13 creatures. This is exactly like Blasphemous Act in red, except for it's black. You get this is the board wipe. This is actually probably better because there are opponents that have creatures that have indestructible or their toughness is higher than 13, 14 and more. So this says if your opponents don't have what 13 more than 13 creatures, they're losing all those creatures. Gone. Gone. Next up in the middle, I wanted to show you a protection spell. Battle Rage Blessing for 2 mana. It is an instant. As a reminder, instant. What does instant mean? Instant speed means you can tap 2 mana and play this at any time. On other player's turn, on your turn. Okay? It says target creature gains death touch and indestructible until end of turn. What do I want to say about this? What I want to say about this, there are board wipes that say destroy all creatures on the battlefield. They can't be regenerated. Okay? So when you play this, you don't have to, regenerate your creature or anything, but like that's just a little bit of text out there that you're going to see. Destroy all creatures or destroy all creatures and they can't be regenerated. Hey, death touch, indestructible prevents all that. Next up, we have Toxrill the Corrosive on the right hand side. I believe Fumulus goes very well in the 99 of Toxrill the Corrosive. If you never played with Toxrill, what can I say about this? He is a game ender. This is a very, very mean card. Your opponents will not like this. This I've been a victim of this card, and I do not like this. You will not like this card. Your opponents will not like this card. Nobody likes playing against this card because the corrosive part is exactly what happens to you. You just corrode slowly away. Um, I'm going to summarize what this guy does, the experience versus actually reading the card. Essentially, this giant slug throws all his slime on his opponent's creatures as -1, -1. For each slime counter on it, it gets -1, -1. And when they die, you get a 1/1 black slug. So you're just slowly wiping the board away and you're creating creatures. So you're starting to net creatures as creatures disappear. It's corrosive. It is. I'm leaving myself speechless because I've been a victim of the card. I'm really trying to inspire players to try this card if you've never seen this card. Just try it. Try to get your pot and see how they react. And also, it has card draw on it when you sacrifice a slug, so it's disgusting. Moving on. Before I get into my favorite card, I just want to say thank you for watching the video. If this video has provided any type of value to you and you just love the content, love my energy, want to be a follower, just thank me by subscribing. That's it. Just want to see the analytics, see how awesome I'm doing on these videos because I got so much more I want to share with y'all. But I need the encouragement. So thank me by subscribing. Moving on to my favorite card. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is my favorite card. Favorite Esper Commander, actually. And I believe this is, I need to look it up. This is probably the #1 rated Esper Commander in the world of Magic. It's #1. Marneus Calgar from the Warhammer 40k. For 2, white, blue, and black. Legendary creature, Astartes Warrior. 3/5 body. Double strike. Okay, let me elaborate on double strike real quick. Double strike is so powerful. I want you to imagine it is like pseudo extra combat. And it's more prevalent than extra combat phases. So I say this to say this later on. Whenever you play with this commander or any other commander in the world of Magic, double strike is pseudo extra combat on one combat phase. Because you are striking a creature twice or player. Or actually, you're striking a combination of a creature and a player or the player twice, honestly. And double strike gets so powerful that the stronger the creature, the more damage your opponent can take. It's almost like an extra combat. Because if you have a 10-10 with double strike, bam, they got hit 10 with the first one. Bam, another 10. That's 20 damage. That could be commander damage. You need 21. But you see where I'm going at here? Instead of spending mana or money on extra combat spells, you can start loading up your commanders with double strike. Okay. I'm still excited about this commander to share with you. His second ability, Master Tactician. What a name for an ability. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Y'all didn't hear me. Y'all didn't hear me. If you knew the Magic, you did not hear what I just said. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. That means treasure tokens, power stone tokens, creature tokens, like tokens, and tokens. Whatever token that enters the battlefield on your side, you get to draw a card. So this is a massive card draw creature. And I also want to put it in perspective for you players. He costs 5 mana to cast. This is a bad dude. He's a bad man. Your opponents will not like him because this is a commander engine. When I say commander engine, he's got payoffs. He just does everything. He just has the deck rolling. Woo. Okay, let me calm down. His final ability, Chapter Master. Who's coming up with the names of these abilities? Chapter Master? You tap 6 mana. And you do not have to tap it. You just tap 6 mana. Create 2 white Astartes warrior creature tokens with vigilance. That's a crazy raid. For 2/2 creatures with vigilance at instant speed, so you can use his ability on any player's turn. You can use them for blockers. You can use them for sack fodder. Just tap 6. Tap 6. It sounds expensive. It is. But at instant speed to create 2/2 creatures, and guess what? Y'all didn't hear what I said either. They're tokens. So whenever you tap 6 mana, you create 2/2 warrior tokens, you get to draw a card. That's crazy. This is why he's one of my favorite commanders. This is probably why he's one of everybody's favorite commanders. He does his own ability. Like you tap 6, you create 2/2 warriors, and you draw a card. And he's got double strike. Okay, so let me go back to the fun score. Fun score 10. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Esper Engine is the words I'm using to describe him. He's budget friendly. Once you start exploring the cards that you can play with this, it's up to you how much money you want to put into it. But it's easy to make tokens. It's easy to get payoffs. It's easy to put X spells in here and that are white, blue, and black. He has multiple themes. That's the other green thing about him. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Aristocrat style, Voltron, warrior theme, drain life. Awesome command. The yellow. He encourages infinite combos. The reason why I have it as yellow, because maybe your play group doesn't want you to do 2-card infinite combos. You might need a 3rd card. Or they just don't like infinite combos. You'll probably get to the point where when you do an infinite combo on your play group, you do that too many times, They just start coming after you. So I say this to say that Marneus Calgar is a threat. Your opponents will not like him, and they will try to take you out. And what's awesome about him is you can protect yourself very well. You have white and blue in his color scheme. Indestructible, counter spells, bounce effects. It goes on. The red thing. The only bad thing about this guy, I can't say it's even bad. It's not even that bad. He comes from the Warhammer set, and right now there's no reprint. So I don't know how many limited copies there are of him, or if they will ever do a reprint of him. But Warhammer is maybe kind of hard to find. Maybe not hard at your LGS, but it's kind of hard to find. He might be just limited to singles. So I'm gonna go through this pretty quick because I got 3 videos on Marneus Calgar. I got 3 videos on this guy. They'll be in the description below. Heir apparent for 2 mana. That's a new foundation creature that you can have more than one, or these 2/2 rabbits in your deck. Cool. Commissar Severina Raine for 3 mana, white, black, and 1/2/2 human soldier. Her thing is whenever she attacks, opponents start losing life for the amount of creatures you control that are attacking. So if she is in the 99 of Marneus Calgar and you are creating 2/2 white Astartes warrior tokens, obviously you're going to be attacking wide, which syncs with right into her ability leading from the front. Her second ability, Summary Execution. Tap 2, sacrifice another creature. You gain 2 life and draw a card. Oh, easy. You're going to be making creatures with Marneus Calgar. Next up, we have Kenrith the Return King, probably one of the most top popular commanders out of all the commander. I honestly don't like him. I really don't. I think I think it's lame. I really do. He does everything. Which the reason why people like him. He does everything. You tap a red, all creatures gain trample and haste. Oh my god. Tap a green and 1, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Okay. Tap a white and tap 2, target player gains 5 life. Tap a blue and 3, target player draws a card. Tap 5, when black and 4, put a target creature card from a graveyard on the battlefield. I just don't like him. He just does everything. Just like it's not even cool. Not even a challenge to even a deck build. Anyways, I'm moving on. All right, we got Clement the Worrywort. I give him a fun score of 6. He is a niche engine. I think he's a good commander for introducing players to Simic colors. It is also frog tribal, which is pretty unique. Very unique. There never was many frogs before. Now there are frogs coming out. Bounce effects are the yellow. The reason why I have that in yellow because I think there's a certain point in time when you start learning Magic or you're playing Magic, bounce effects are either offensive uses or defensive uses, and you start to trend which way you like to use bounce effects. They're versatile, but like if it's not on a repeatable enchantment to bounce something, it almost feels like it's a swift like love hate emotion. I don't know why I went into like that deep emotional state of bounce effects, but that's how I feel about it. I like them and I don't like them, but it's just a fleeting feeling when you bounce something away. I guess that's why it's called bounce. The red is you want more. So yes, I did do this a little different. I did describe everything green, yellow, and red first before I read the commander. So now I'll read the commander so you have an expectation. Clement the Worrywort for 1 blue green 3/3 body. He has vigilance. He says whenever Clement the Worrywort or another creature you control enters, return up to 1 target creature you control with lesser mana value to its owner's hand. So he's turning into like a utility piece, to be honest with you. Then it says frogs you control have tap, add green and blue, spend this mana only to cast a creature spell. So he is limited to frogs. But you could actually just tap him for a green mana, so he's also a mana dork. So he's pretty utility. He may not be better for your 99 though. I'm gonna show you 3 cards that could work well with him if he is your commander. Yeah, so we got the Downport Mage on the far left hand side over here. Frog Wizard on the 1/3 body. He says whenever one or more creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, draw a card. So back to the blink effects or bounce effects, you get to draw a card. So this is more encouraging in my mind to play bounce spells or blink effects because you get to draw a card every time you do it. Tap two and tap it, return another target creature you control to his owner's hand. So essentially, he is his own engine. Maybe that's a thing for frogs. I don't know. In the middle here, we have Reflections of the Jar. I always feel like this is a clunky card because it costs 5 mana. But if you are in Simic, you are able to actually make this cost effective because you can ramp and play a bunch of lands to offset the demand of paying two spells at one turn. So, Reflection of the Jar says when it enters, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen creature type, copy that spell. Yeah, there's nothing better than having two of the same creature type than one, especially if it's in a niche uh, creature type, such as frogs or I don't know what was it, Astartes. I don't even know if that what creature type that is in the Warhammer 40 set, but Astartes. Next up, we have Arcane Adaptation. For 3 mana, it's enchantment when it ETBs enters the battlefield. Creatures you control are the chosen type in addition to the other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that are not on the battlefield. So, you would use this if you have other creature types and you would choose frog, and all those other creatures that are in your deck are frogs in addition to whatever other types they are. So now they are mana dorks and they can tap for green or blue. And you can only cast it. So use that mana to cast creature spells. Yeah, to be honest with you, this is episode 2, so I'm not sure if I liked reading the pros and cons of it first. That was just experience. It didn't feel right. But if you made it this far to the video, thank you. Thank you for listening. It's awesome. It really is. I give this a fun score of 8. This commander is fast paced. Her name is Commissar Severina Raine. Very fun commander. It's like a aggro and aristocrats. So what she does, she's a 2/2 human soldier. Humans and soldiers have lots of tribal effects. Just know that. They are very well known in the Magic universe. You can find a lot of spells that say this costs less for how many humans you control, yada yada yada, and soldiers. Like I said, she has the ability leading from the front. Whenever Commissar Severina Raine attacks, each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of other attacking creatures. So you're gonna go wide here. That's the green over there. Oh, like that little green over there. Um. Also, she drains life. That's another green over there. So not only are you attacking with creatures, dealing combat damage to players, they're losing more life for the amount of creatures that you have attacking. So it's just like you drain their life first, and you put them at 5, and you put them at a scenario where if you have 5 creatures left to deal combat damage, you pretty much kill them. This is almost like you deal double damage in a way, pseudo double damage. Anyway, her last ability is Summary Execution. Tap 2, sacrifice another creature, you gain 2 life, and draw a card. This is super easy because you are going wide with this commander. Moving on to the right hand side, Threat Assessment. The reason why I have it in yellow is because white and black are awesome at removal. So I actually came up with something new lately in my pod. Threat Assessment, you got to discover what cards are going to be a problem with for Commissar Severina. One that comes to mind are like Ghostly Prison or Propaganda, which forces you to pay mana for the amount of attacking creatures you control. That is an enchantment you will want to get rid of because she requires a lot of creatures to attack for you to drain life. Obviously, you can manipulate the amount of creatures you want to attack to drain life, But, paying mana to do that, that's not cool. Like, that would just offset your drain life ability here. So, the word that I came up with my new group is the panic meter. I think players can make threat assessments, but what is the panic meter for that particular player for certain cards? So, for example, for the Ghostly Prison or Propaganda, if I have to pay mana just to attack and I want to end the game, my panic meter might be pretty high. And if I don't have the removal spells, my panic meter might be pretty high. Next up is weak stats. That's my red here. On a 2-2 body, I can't say humans are weak, but 2-2 ain't cutting it, player. Like, she could at least be a 2-3. She get hit down with a lightning bolt. Creatures with power 3 or less get sacrificed. Like, easily can get killed. But she is in the right colors to have very strong protection. Let me show you some more cards that work well with her. So we got Bloodthirsty Conqueror, 5 mana, 5/5 body vampire knight from the Foundation set. Jumpstart Foundation. He has Flying Death Touch. Woof. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So this is an easy auto include if you swing with Commissar Severina Raine and you make opponent lose life, 2 life upon attacking, you gain 2 life. What I need to tell you about this lose life effect is losing life and dealing damage are two different things. Two different things. Whenever a creature deals damage, that means it's generally combat damage or non-combat damage. Whenever a player loses life, that is life loss. Just note that when you start reading more words in the world of Magic. Bastion Protector for 3 mana, 3/3 body, human soldier. Commander creature you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible. She is an auto include because you want to make Commissar Severina Raine stay on the board. So if she has indestructible and gives her +2/+2, she's literally a 4/4 indestructible commander. That is awesome. Board wipes won't kill her. Only exile. Also, why I like Bastion Protector because it is a distraction for your opponents to get rid of Bastion before they target your commander. And also, Bastion Protector is good against edicts because that means you have at least 2 creatures, your commander and her, and maybe your commander survives the edict because it says sacrifice 1 creature. Just saying. Next up, we have Adeline, Resplendent Cathar for 3 mana, 2 white and a 1. Auto include. She's a human knight, vigilance. Her power is equal to the number of creatures you control. You're going wide with Commissar Severina Raine. Whenever you attack for each opponent, create a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker you control or they control. So literally, every time you attack, you're creating 3 1/1s. That is a great creature to add with Commissar Severina Raine because what you want to do is stack your triggers here. You want to attack with her first, then attack. Well, you want to use her ability on the stack first, then Commissar Severina Raines. So that way you have 3 1/1 creatures that are attacking, and that's automatically making opponents lose 3 life. Yes. Adeline Resplendent Cathar. Thank you for watching this video. If you thoroughly enjoyed it and it brought any type of value, just thank me by subscribing. Just let me know how you feel about it. If any of the commanders are interesting to you, maybe you want to see a deck tech on it, let me know that in the comments also. Peace out, y'all.